Today's video, we're going to talk about how I went from absolutely broke to having money work for me and to have everything that I wanted in terms of financial independence. Now, if you guys have been following me on this channel, you know I got everything else that I wanted as well, but refer to my older video. And this video is just to inspire you about manifestation and the fact that it doesn't matter what circumstances you're living, you can change your entire life. And this video is not just going to be about you just have to affirm your abundance into your life. Of course, we are going to talk about affirmations and the more esoteric aspect of manifestation, but in this video I also want to address practical things that I did that I think will help you out so much when it comes down to your rich life and having the money that you need to construct and build the life that you want. If you're interested, just keep on watching. And before I get started, hello everyone, my name is Naya, and on this channel I talk everything about esotericism, manifestation, practical advice, and so much more. On Patreon, I make weekly extra videos literally about everything, which include podcasts about manifestation. And on my membership program, not only I have my webinars about the science behind manifestation, all my e-courses, but also live monthly coaching that I do on YouTube for the members. So check it out. All the infos are down below. But now let's get to the video. All right, you guys, so I talk only about my personal experience because I am a Taurus in astrology, and whether you believe in astrology or not, I think that the birth chart sometimes it really reveals who we are in terms of personality, and that's the aspect of astrology that I personally love the most, is to read the birth chart of people. And I have this aspect about me where I have to practice. I have to see things for myself. Taurians are very grounded, we are extremely practical, and that's why I like to also give to you practical advice when it comes down to your personal manifestation. I love the esoteric because my rising sun is in Pisces and my moon is in Aquarius, but I think that when we join together practicality with esotericism, that's where you will see the greatest results. And at least this has been my personal experience, and that's why I'm so passionate sometimes to make this video where I talk about my personal story and not just the story of my clients or of the people that I know. But today, manifestation success story is because I was reflecting upon my life, and I was reflecting how broke I was before I even started YouTube, and how much I always had an idea of how my life should work, and especially I always had an idea about how I wanted finances to be, but especially how I wanted money to work for me, and I just wanted to make money just by being myself. Now, mind you, the majority of the time when you say these things out loud to people, and I have a video about keeping the secret both on Patreon and on this channel if you guys are interested, which is also Neville Goddard related, but I digress. When you say these things to people, people look at you like you're crazy because they just cannot fathom the idea that yes, you can, especially in 2023, make money work for you. Working hard, it doesn't necessarily equal to having more, and especially you don't have to, be something that you're not in order to generate financial abundance and income. Not only because we know about manifestation, but also practically speaking because that's a very large misconception. So obviously your own rich life, it's going to look different from mine. I had very specific desires and needs. Your desire and needs are meant to be for you. So some people will want a more minimalistic but free lifestyle where money are working for them so they can take all these amazing travels. Or some other people will want a gigantic villa and a jacuzzi and a Cadillac, and they want to be celebrities or living like a posh, super high vibe, I don't even know how to say it in English, lifestyle. Some other people will just have the desire to retire their family or to have savings for their children. It doesn't really matter where you're coming from. The first step that I took was to look at myself really honestly and stop comparing myself to other people, which indicated just to go with my deeper desire. What is and how my rich life looks? What am I doing as a career? What am I doing in my day-to-day life? How am I generating money? And how do I feel? And this is something I invite all of you guys to do before you even start affirming aiming for anything specific. Even Neville Goddard and all the teachers of the law will tell you this, to be somehow, some way specific, or at least clear about what you want from life, because each and every version of the reality that you can imagine and think of already exists in the quantum field. So the version of your rich life in the way that you desire and imagine not only is meant to be for you, but actually does already exist. If not in the multiverse, listed in consciousness. So depending on what you believe in, that's the more esoteric aspect of it. So really just write it down or do a vision board and have fun with it, how your rich life is going to look like and what it means for you. Remember that you will always change your mind and there is nothing wrong. There are infinite realities that you can manifest, and at any time you can tweak or change that version of your rich life, but it's really nice to start from somewhere. Some of you might want to be artists, like I said. Some of you might just want to have an early retirement or savings for your family. It doesn't matter. Just don't compare yourself to anyone or to the point Z or D of someone else or on Instagram pictures that you see, but really just be honest with yourself and see what you want from life. And that's the first step that I did. I remember that not only I was broke and I never had savings in my account. I wasn't financially supported by anyone. I actually, the bank didn't even want to give me a credit card. So I don't even know what credit card debt means, because no bank account wanted to ever, no bank wanted to ever give me a credit card, because the first credit card that I ever owned was cut. So imagine my mindset and imagine my entire life. I was living not only paycheck by paycheck, but I didn't even have any savings. I was under minus 50 euros on my bank account. And for many years, even though I reached and manifested popularity through my music, I was really struggling to support my band at that time. And I was living firstly pay to check, depending on the gigs that we were doing. And then the money that I was getting from the gigs, we had to split in four. And that was really difficult. And then when I found eventually a job, because I studied cosmetology, I love makeup and skincare, I manifested a really good job at a shop. I was working a lot of hours. I worked New Year's Eve, Christmas. It was just crazy. I was always working, and obviously I was working paycheck to paycheck. Not that there is anything wrong if you're in this situation, but just to give you a little bit of background, I was 25, 26 at that time, and I had a really poor mindset. And the reason why I had a poor mindset is because my state of consciousness and my identification, even though I knew about witchcraft, the law, and things like that, didn't change. So even though I was always kind of successfully manifesting good things, manifested a job that paid me more, manifested popularity with the music, and so on and so forth, I was really making, I'm sorry because the camera is too low. It's too high, sorry. I was really making poor decisions because my mindset was still, I am poor. So every single time I would receive money, I would just not even have a conception of what savings is. I never had what does it mean to even make investment or to be rich? For me, the money that I have, I'm going to spend it all, because that's the mindset I was living for. And that's why I want to show you my story and show you also the practical actions that I took. So obviously within that scenario, I remember having my bank account always to red, and sometimes I didn't even have the money to buy myself food. And I remember I was thinking so poorly of myself, and this was way before even having a YouTube channel. I didn't even thought I could do a YouTube channel. I didn't want to do it. I didn't even know what making a business was like. I just was clueless about things. I just remember having no money for paying for food, and I was thinking I just don't need to eat that much. I wasn't even thinking, what are you doing with your money? Where this money are going? My thought was oh, I don't need to eat that much. It doesn't matter. So imagine, again, the state of mind I was in. And Obviously, because I believed in the law, even though back then I used to call it law of attraction, I was always very capable to be positive around this scenario. So for example, I didn't have the money to eat. Not only I would say, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't need to eat that much, but my world takes care of me. It doesn't matter. I'm lucky. I always get food provided for me. I always have what I want. Those affirmations I always kept, and this was the magic and the esotericism, I think, of the law that always showed me that even when I had a poor mindset and I didn't have the money to take care of myself, somehow, some way, my subconscious mind, or call it the universe, was taking care of me. I always encountered situation where I could take that trip and go in traveling. I could manifest that popularity I wanted with the music. I could manifest that extra meal that I needed to eat. I could manifest that job. So that was great. But why then I wasn't able to still manifest my rich life? And this is why I want to make this video, because still, even if you're capable to manifest money out of the blue, which by the way, it's part of my story and I did twice, or actually more than twice, I wasn't able to keep it because my mindset and my identification was, I am poor. I don't have it. I am broke. And I shifted this mindset with identifying with the version of myself that not only is rich and lives an independent life, but if I happen to be broke for some reason, or it will happen, I don't see being broke as something permanent, but I see it as being temporary because I am always rich. But being poor is permanent because it's a state of identification, it's a state of consciousness. And the first step that I want you to do after you decide how your rich life is going to be is to decide that if you're broke, it's going to be temporary. And if you're not going to be poor ever again. You're not going to identify with being poor or having little to no money ever again, because richness is your birthright. Abundance is your birthright, and it can come to you in many, many ways. So those are the first thing that I did, and I decided, like I said, being broke is temporary. I am sick and tired of never having any money for myself and living paycheck to paycheck, not being happy about the job that I do, not being happy with my life. I want to change. So I'm making that determined decision and obviously affirming for it. Even with the limited resources that I had in terms of knowledge within the law, I obviously kept my vibration high and I kept doing the law of attraction kind of things, which they do work for a while. And they do work to provide me opportunities. And in fact, opportunities started to come. So I received money. I said this millions of times. The first time I received the money out of the blue because I was manifesting money. So I am not going to say weird, unexpected events are not going to happen out of the blue, because they will, and you don't always have to take action for it. So through a family inheritance, I received unexpected money that wasn't even meant to be for me, but somehow, some way, my grandmother left money for me, and I didn't even expect it because I didn't really have that close relationship with her, but I inherit this money out of nowhere. For you, it might be a winning of the lottery, or it might be money coming to you again in an unexpected way. This is the magic and the esotericism of life. I want to be honest in this video, and I just want to tell everything that happened to me, because I think that lying and pretending that that wasn't the kickstart for me, I think it would be we wouldn't be nice, you know. I want to be honest. So that's what happened. I inherited some money, but because I was already within the higher vibration, you could call it, or just affirming my rich life, I decided, what am I going to do with this? I had two choices. Will I invest them in my band? Will I do nothing, waste them in traveling because that's what I wanted to do? Or will I make an investment? And that's where I really started manifesting my rich life, because I looked deeply within myself and I asked myself, how do you want your life to be? And I wanted money to work for me. I knew I wanted to be a mom. I knew I wanted to get married and have a family. I knew I didn't want to even do YouTube just for money or being stuck in producing actively business. I knew I wanted to retire early, and I wanted to have the time to do YouTube or other things like music for passion and not just because I'm living paycheck to paycheck. So I decided not only to affirm and visualize visualize and meditate for my abundance at that time, in which I invite all of you. I am rich, I am rich, I'm rich, I'm successful, money comes to me easily, money are flowing to me, and you can work on whatever affirmation that you want. I definitely did, and I did visualize and meditate upon it. So I am not saying you shouldn't do it, you should do it. But then I also start thinking, how do rich people think? And I started studying the lives of rich people, and I started reading books like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and I started understanding the difference between assets and liabilities, which no one has ever taught me. And I can make an extra video on Patreon for those of you guys who are interested. So for me, money and earning a lot or having a lot of money was equal spending, and I can buy these things. But I didn't thought that money, in order to generate more money, like money can generate more money. I was never even allowed to think in that way. So that opened my mind to a new whole version of myself where I could see money working for me somehow, some way. So the first thing that I did, I purchased with the money that I got left, which wasn't a lot, a house. And you might say, wow, a house costs a lot. Mind you that the housing cost in Italy and in certain cities of Italy, I used to live in Florence back then, and the costing of the housing in the United States, if you're watching me from the States, are very, very different. So do not compare it to what you have, because when I lived in the United States, I could tell that you guys pay a lot of money for housing. So, but even there you can manifest the house at the price that you want. So that's a whole different chapter, because I didn't actually had a lot of money. I had a few, and instead of deciding to wasting them away, I decided to buy a house. And the funny thing is, I had a very specific requirement for this house. I wanted to be next to where my old house where I used to live, because I really like that area. I wanted to have a garden. I wanted to be cheap and all of this stuff, and I couldn't find anything online. I'm sorry, this video is going to be super long. I'm trying to be quick. I didn't find anything online. Nothing was showing. Nothing was showing. Nothing was showing. And I was still in red. I was in red. Apart from the money that I received, like the situation didn't change, right? So I decided to say, it doesn't matter, the universe is going to take care of me. I'm going to find the perfect house. And I started visualizing being inside the house and having already purchased the house and being already there. And what happened, all of a sudden, I decided to take a walk in a street that I've never been before next to where I live. And that's where I saw the sale installment in front of this house. And I just called. It was available, and it was amazing, because this house belonged to a very rich old lady that just wanted to get rid of this house. She wasn't really profiting. She was like almost 90-year-old. The price was so low. The house was huge. It had a garden. She liked me a lot, decided to lower the price even more, and I got the house for the money that I had. And it was easy, fast, effortless. So that was my first big manifestation. So I didn't have to pay rent, and that was my first investment in changing my mindset. But that came a long way from doing that first investment to realizing that housing do have costs and expenses, and I was still paycheck to paycheck, and I still didn't know how to save money. But in the journey, I kept identified with the version of myself that was rich, what it meant to be for me. And I remember writing down in my diaries, I make money just by being myself, because I really didn't want to go and be a sales assistant anymore. Nothing wrong with that. I had fun doing that job, but I wanted to do something different. And then in my lowest point with my band and music, I just said to God, I prayed, because I believe in the power of prayer, like Neville Goddard used to say, God, show me the way, which I even made a short here on YouTube about. I just asked God, show me the way. What is my divine purpose? What should I do? My world takes care of me. And I kept affirming, even after, I stalled and didn't see necessarily any results. This was years ago. At this time, I was 26, 27. So what happened, a series of negative events started to happen. Like, for example, split up with my boyfriend at that time. My band collapsed. I had gigs planned for the summer in a huge festival. They all got canceled. And then I remember I was in contact with Universal Music Group, with one, not just the big Universal Music Group, but one of the labels underneath for, and other big labels for signing my band. And that all went to tits. It was a disaster, and I was started seeing negative events one after the other, money going down, bank not giving me a credit card, not have any savings, just my everything started to collapse around me. And in that moment, God only knows how I did it. I kept praying, I kept affirming, I kept holding tight to my belief in the law of attraction, in the law of assumption, that I didn't know was called law of assumption at that time. I kept identifying with, I am living my rich life. And that was hard, you guys, because when reality is hitting you hard and everything is collapsing, you don't know what's going on. It's hard to keep affirming, but I never ever stopped. I never stopped visualizing because I'm a huge visualizer, more than affirming, but to give you the idea. And then what happened, all of a sudden, at my lowest point, where I didn't have any more of the money that my grandmother gave me, because I had a house, but then I had to pay the bills for the house, which I didn't thought about, and there are maintenance things happening. What happens is that I get sick from mold being in the house. There was a huge black mold in the canteen, which was next to my bedroom, and I started getting extremely sick, and I had to evacuate the house because the mold was killing me. If you know what mold poisoning is, you know how bad it is. So that was my lowest point. I was still working, and I was clueless. I was like, God, what are you doing with my life? Like, I just bought a house and this is collapsing, and I got mold, and I have to pay 10,000 euros just to fix this mold, and the humidity is crazy in this house. I don't have any savings. I am living paycheck to paycheck. Like, my band is collapsing. I didn't know what to do. And like I said, I kept affirming and praying, because somehow, some way, I just believe. I kept doing spells, and I just believe in the law. I believe in God. I believe in spirit. I firmly believe into what I teach on this channel. I am sorry this video is so long. I am trying to be honest and tell you all the story from broke to make money living for me. So within this scenario, so if you're living in a very poor circumstance, I just want you to know I've been there. I know how you feel. Your situation might even be worse than mine. There is a way out. Keep affirming, keep praying, keep visualizing that rich life that you have wrote down in that diary, because that's where I was holding on to. Okay, so I remember at that stage writing in my diary again, I make money just by being myself. So continuing with this affirmation. And then I also wrote down 50 times, I have $10,000. I have $10,000. I have $10,000. I have $10,000. I have $10,000, and repeating. Because for me, $10,000 at that time was really a lot of money. So, not that there isn't, because it is. Nothing came about in the first months that I did that, but other things after the collapse started working. So, for example, my manager of the shop at the time was insisting that I was doing tarot cards for her all the time. And she was like, you should be on YouTube. You should be on YouTube. You should be on YouTube. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to do YouTube. First and foremost, I didn't want to do it in Italian, because the Italian people are very close-minded when it comes down to certain esoteric topic. They're wonderful people for so many things, but for some others, I just wasn't my cup of tea. So I didn't want to do it in Italian. I didn't want to be, I was a musician, so what am I going to do on YouTube? I have to start again and creating a fan base. I didn't even have Facebook, or I didn't use Instagram a lot. I didn't even use YouTube that much. I was like, I don't even know what to do. And she was insisting, calling me every day, you need to do YouTube. You need to do YouTube. And I never did when she was saying this. But one day, she takes me to the square in Florence, and she said, give me a tarot reading in front of people. And I was like, no, come on, this is embarrassing. She was like, do it. So I started giving her this reading, and all of these people start coming around me, and they were like, oh, you're doing tarot. Can we have a reading? And I was like, sure. And I started doing reading, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And people started giving me money. People started giving me sandwiches. People started giving me beer. I told this story millions of times. And I just remember looking at this money and saying, wow, I have money for dinner tonight. Wow, I can be myself and do this. And people are happy about it. And they're offering me things and money. And I wasn't asking for them. I remember looking at the stars and be like, whoa, is this possible? Like, I can do something I'm passionate about, that I'm good at, that is helping other people and have a living. It was just mind blowing. And I kept studying the life of rich people. Like I said, I kept identifying with being the way that I wanted. So I started, at the end of the day, I went on YouTube, built my first business, my first YouTube channel, and it was amazing. But my mindset was poor, nevertheless. So even though I became better and better through the affirmation, I was still identifying with, I shouldn't earn too much money because then I have to pay taxes. I wasn't allowing myself to dream big, to understand that manifestation is so much more than earning a little bit here and there. I could really had that life I wanted. And then it became draining and a lot of opposition came about. And that's where I put my foot down and I said, no, I want to manifest my rich life. I want money to work for me. What do I have to do? And in that moment, I started realizing and studying even more the people that had successful businesses and people that had success, what they were doing. I started acting like it. I started saving money. I started behaving and allowing myself to go on streets where certain shops were, and surrounding myself with abundance that I've never had before, even if I didn't have the money for it. So, and I started thinking, I don't always have to do private readings. I don't always have to work hard to get money. Money come to me. Money flow to me eternally, always, and easy and unexpectedly. And I started visualizing more and visualizing more. And at this time, $10,000 appeared in my bank account out of nowhere. I made a different video on Patreon about this. I don't even know how it happened. They literally materialized in my bank account. One day I woke up, they were just there, and nobody could tell me why. It was crazy. Then within the story, otherwise it will be too long, the more I was affirming and identifying and acting differently, the more my choices became differently. I started manifesting credit cards. Banks could actually give me credit cards, and I started learning how to deal with debt and credit card. I sold that house that I bought with profit and bought another one, and with other money I had another one. Now I'm an owner of 2 houses, almost 3, and the money that I generate goes to assets and not liabilities all the time. And I manifested my independent rich life the more I identified and looked at the people that had a rich life. So this video will be really too long to go too deeply into the practicality. I can make an extra video, but again, what do I did? I never give up. I always affirmed. I always visualized, even in moment of opposition. And then I started to brainwash my mind into the identification, I am rich. So what does it mean for me personally? For you, it's going to be different. But for me, what does it mean to be rich? As a rich person, what do I do? Where do I invest my money? And how do I make money work for me? In my case, for me, it was convenient to buy houses and have the rent and have that as an investment. So I don't always have to rely just on the business on YouTube. Then I did a coaching, like I said, with Sammy Ingram, and I did the second channel, which went even greater, and I started affirming my business is booming, and my business started to boom last year. It's in ways that I could never even fathom or imagine. So that generated other income. Then I had other passive incomes on other side, and now I'm in a point where I am financially independent and free, because not only only I identify as rich, but my action translated to be rich. Money are working for me because I'm a landlord, because of the passive income I generated through my businesses, because of YouTube, and because of the many more things I am planning to do in terms of investments and in terms of how I treat my money. So I hope this video and my story make you understand I never left affirmation. I never left the esoteric and beautiful part of law of assumption and law of attraction. I did coaching. I did got helped in the esoteric world. But at the same time, I helped the esoteric practices with practicality. I became a different person. I brainwashed my brain to say I'm not poor. Therefore, I am not making poor choices. I'm not avoiding bills. I'm not creating debt. I'm making assets. I'm making investment because I am thinking about my rich life in the long term. So what investment can I do? How a rich person is going to behave, act, and think. And the more I was affirming, the more I was becoming. And when I became, it happened. And this is how I came from broke, completely broke, to independent and having money work for me. And it all happened as I written and as I envisioned. I wanted to be financially independent, to become a mom, to think about my pregnancy, and to just do YouTube or whatever other job I want to do or career because I'm passionate about it and not because I'm relying on the paycheck to paycheck from YouTube or from anything else. I wanted to be free. And look what changed, what actually really changed within the story that I told you. My mindset changed. When you change, when your self-concept changes, when your identification changes, your emotions change, and when your emotion change, your action change. And then also when you manifest unexpected things out of the blue, like money, winning of big money, then you treat them differently. You don't waste them away because you identify as rich. You don't identify as poor. And this is the difference between people who win big money and lose them all and people who instead make great financial choices that will affect them in the long term. So I hope this video is inspirational for you to understand you can manifest great things just by affirming and just by meditating and using the esoteric practices. You can literally shift reality no matter what circumstances. But it's very important that you understand that manifestation boils down to identification. You also do your part when you become a different version of you. And yes, you can go from broke to poor to making money work for you, early retirement, or whatever version of your rich life you have. I am so happy that 6 years have passed from that moment where everything was collapsing and I didn't have anything, that I manifested everything. Now, it might look 6 years is really, really a long time, but I was learning in the process. I didn't know what I know now about manifestation. You definitely have an advantage because you know much more than I used to know. And the big change that I had was from last year to this year when I really learned even more about law of assumption and started practicing it. That's where I got the biggest shift, when I realized about quantum physics and about identification and all the things that I teach on this channel. That's where I saw the biggest step into manifesting my dream reality. So I hope this video was inspirational. I tried to cut it short in the end because it was getting really too long, but that's what I did. If you want more videos where I give you practical advice about money and things like that, definitely thinking about doing this on Patreon. Subscribe if you're interested. And yeah, you guys, tell me your stories in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video where I tell you not only about my personal success stories, but about things apart from just affirming, because I think we already talked and discussed enough about this, but I also give you other perspectives to help you manifest, to just add to the practice of affirmation and visualization. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you very soon on this channel. Bye!